Hey guys, welcome back to New Stuff TV, the untechnical tech channel. I'm your host, Antoine Deep Blacks and Bright Highlights Richardson, because today we're going to be talking about the LG B5 in 2025. My first OLED experience in home was the LG B4, and then I moved up to the LG C4. Now I'm gonna work my way through the ranks again, starting with the LG B5, which is their entry-level OLED TV. And we'll get to that in a second as far as entry level, but then we'll talk about the C5 at another time. And then of course I gotta get my way up to the G5, the big dog. First, we're gonna talk about the build quality. So overall, it's super light and slim with a marble-like backing on it. It really does look like marble, but when you touch it, you can definitely tell it's some type of composite or plastic or something like that. Now, while the B5 is a mostly all-panel TV, looking at from the side profile, you're gonna notice that little booty sticking out from the back. Now, on the 65-inch model, which is the one we're gonna be talking about today, the legs are not adjustable up or down or in and out. Just telling you right now that they're about 40 inches apart, just in case you were considering sticking a soundbar in between them or somewhere in front of them. Now, the Magic Remote has been updated and it feels more premium and up to speed with modern times. I'm noticing a lot less and almost no accidental triggers to the magic part of the remote, which is that center button, which is also kind of a rotary knob to trigger that on-screen cursor. So if that's something you don't like, and a lot of times I don't like it, I'm having a better time with the remote as far as not triggering that. Now we'll jump into the user interface. The B5, C5, and G5 are all going to be using WebOS 25. Now at times I feel like the processing for the UI and moving through the different apps could be a little bit faster, but some of that could also be blamed on my crappy Wi-Fi. Yeah, I'm taking shots at you, Xfinity. Now, playing around with some of these proprietary apps built in the WebOS has got me understanding that there is so much more to these TVs than we really give them credit for. We're talking home hub capability here, and I'm gonna have to take some special time to just kind of delve into each segment, like the gaming or the office stuff. Maybe I'll do some dedicated videos where we do a deeper dive into that, because these TVs do so much more than just display movies and TV shows. Oh, and as a side note, if you want to get the absolute best performance out of your B5, C5, or G5, make sure you go ahead and plug it in via Ethernet cable. That way the internet is performing at top speed, especially if you're going to be using this thing as a home hub. And don't forget to go on your phone and download the Think or ThinkQ app on your phone. That way you can take advantage of that as well. Now let's jump into some of the content I watched. With the new built-in AI, I searched for something to watch and ended up going down a Michael Jai White rabbit hole. Man, that dude is criminally underrated as far as blockbuster martial arts movies go, but I ain't gonna camp out on that and get myself all upset while I'm doing this video. Anyhow, I checked out Blood and Bone on Netflix and Undisputed 2 on Tubi. So I watched both of these movies in ambient lighting, and the positioning in my setup doesn't create reflections, but because of the glossy screen, if I go out of my way to look for them, they're gonna be there. And that's when I started to notice how bright this TV can actually get, especially in ambient light. It's really good at fighting off reflections, especially when you're watching content like sports and sitcoms and things like that. Now, going back to Tubi and the sitcoms, look, the upscaling is actually fantastic because Tubi is mostly presented in 720p, except for like the Super Bowl. I think they did that in 4K, but Tubi is mostly 720p. Now, when I was watching things like the movies and some of the shows I was watching, especially the movies, it looked more like 1080p and sometimes even 4K. I don't know what they were doing there with the upscaling, but LG did promise better upscaling. And speaking of free content like Tubi, LG channels is actually built into this TV. Like if you get one of these TVs, you got to jump into LG channels. It's like so underrated for free content because, you know, we cut the cord for a reason, but then we end up streaming all these apps and stuff and paying for all these different services when LG channels is sitting right there. Oh, and the last piece of content I actually sampled was Ambulance in 4K UHD. That's quickly become one of my favorite action movies, by the way. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out on 4K. Of course, you got to see like everything, especially 4K UHD on an OLED, and that's what I did. So that's when I got to see the contrast performance and how deep those blacks can go, and you know, they're bringing out the highlights and stuff. Really good performance, especially when you want to take it up a notch and start watching something like 4K UHD. You got regular content, right? When you're streaming, that looks good. It's upscaled to 1080p, 4K, whatever have you. It's always going to look great, right? But then when you actually level up and put in your DVD or 4K UHD, you're going to get great performance out of this B5. Okay, let's jump into gaming. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. I've been really busy lately and I haven't had a lot of time to set aside for gaming. But the little bit of gameplay I did do, well, first I had to reacclimate myself to the game controls on Ghost Recon. That's actually one of my favorite games to play when I just want to kind of decompress and blow up a bunch of stuff and snipe out a few bad guys. I had to reacclimate myself to the controls, man, because I was getting tore up when I first started again. But the gameplay was super buttery smooth with that 120 hertz refresh rate. And when it comes to VRR in 120, I played The Last of Us for a little bit. I had to reacclimate myself to that too. Dude, I gotta, the muscle memory. I gotta get back into the games, man. Anyways, playing The Last of Us was buttery smooth, and I love the way the colors pop, especially in those environments, man. And it's always nice to know that the gaming tools are always gonna be there. Some people like to call it a game bar, where you can change certain settings depending on what game you're playing. All you gotta do is hit this settings button, which is the little gear button there, and it pops up right on screen, and you can adjust the brightness and stuff like that, so you can see those bad guys creeping out in the corners. So this is supposed to be LG's entry-level OLED TV. Entry level or not, I still feel like I'm getting a pretty premium experience when I'm watching movies and stuff with the lights down or off. But then when I'm streaming regular content in ambient light, I start to realize how versatile this TV really is for just about anything. Now, I'm no expert in this kind of stuff, but what I do know is y'all got to get up out of here so I can take a deeper dive into some of these LG proprietary apps on this TV. Now, once I get them all figured out in a few days, I'll come back and let you know what's up. Either way, y'all keep being good to each other, and I'll see you when I see you.